Hi everybody. This is going to be my first update here on my 20 long open top since I have discovered that I think I have ick in this tank. If you missed the first video, in short, I have 4 chocolate zebra plecos that are exhibiting strange behavior, and they also have white spots all over their body. Now, I know you're going to say, well, white spots, it's ick, that's fine. And I understand that, but I've experienced ick before, and this does not look like ick as I've seen it before. But I've also been giving it a lot of thought today, and I realized that I've only dealt with ick twice. That doesn't exactly give me a ton of experience in dealing with ick. So just because it doesn't seem familiar to me does not mean it's not ick. And there's simply nothing else I can think of that would fit the description of what is going on with the fish, either their behavior or the symptoms physically, what they look like. One viewer did suggest that perhaps it was freshwater velvet. I did a little bit of looking into that, and I've ruled that out completely. There's just not a chance that that's what it is. So ick really is my go-to problem here. So I'm treating for ick, and if it is, I'll notice some real positive change within a few days. If it's not, or if I don't see any change within a few days, then we'll know maybe we need to start looking down a different route. So what was going on was the fish in question were basically hiding in this corner over here. If you'll see that zebra pleco over there and you see those white spots all over it, that just looks a little strange compared to ick as I've seen it before. Now, this one is one of the ones that's not too bad. Some of the other ones actually have more spots than that, and they're more evenly distributed all over the entire body. And they were all stacked up along that corner behind the filter intake and around the heater, and they were splashing and thrashing around up near the surface. So that's what drew my attention to it, and when I came over and looked a little more closely, I saw that white spots all over them. So again, I began scratching my head and wondering whether or not that was ick. I don't know what else causes white spots on fish like that, or them to scrape and flash the way they were. So the things that struck me as odd were, I don't know how it got in the tank. Contrary to popular belief, ick does not just live in your tank all the time. It is a parasite that has to be introduced. Now, I did introduce some neons recently. I had them in quarantine for 3 weeks before I put them in this tank. And I would think that after 3 weeks of quarantine, if there was going to be, any issues, it would have shown itself readily on the neons, but that's not necessarily the case. It could have been within the gills on one of the animals. They could have been doing a good job fighting it off, but still carrying it. So that's my conclusion, is that I simply, after 3 weeks of quarantine, still introduced ick into the tank via those neons that you see swimming around there. So I'm treating it as though it's ick. The other thing that I found unusual was that it was only the plecos that I saw those white spots on. There was one neon in there that I did see some white spots on, but I've not been able to find it since. Yes, I can. Right there. I see it right in front of me. One of those neons, I can't see it. There it is. Of course, we're not focusing now. Right there, you see the white spots all over that neon? See, now that looks like ick to me. So that definitely makes me think I have definitely introduced ick. Okay, now that I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing it this clearly, and you're all seeing it with me for the first time, I had gotten a glimpse of that fish yesterday. Oh, there's another one right there with ick all over it. I only saw one yesterday. There's another neon that has a spot on it. So, okay. Mystery over. It is definitely ick, and I definitely brought it in on those neons. The thing that was concerning me or confusing me was the fact that it was only the plecos. And then, of course, today the light bulb went off for me, and that is the life cycle of the parasite. After it leaves the animal, it drops off, falls to the bottom of the tank, and encapsulates itself in a cyst and goes into reproductive mode. And once those cysts rupture, hundreds or even thousands of little swarmers, little termites, come out of them and look for new host animals. So the plecos that are living in the caves, they're living on the bottom, they're living in areas where the water doesn't have a lot of current and movement. They're basically on ground zero of where all of these cysts are erupting and dumping these termites and these swarmers into the water. They're basically hatching out right onto these poor animals. So that sort of explains why the plecos are so heavily infected and the angelfish and the rainbow fish are not yet infected. This is pretty normal behavior for the rainbow fish, by the way. He likes to just sit in the current there and swim like he's on a treadmill all day long. So that's always fun to watch, but that's not unusual if you're wondering about him gasping for breath or staying near the filter for the sake of trying to get more oxygen. On that note, I have added my air stone. I have a big bar. It's about 9 inches long, and I have a fairly, I'm not sure how much volume it pumps, but it says it's up to a 50-gallon tank or something. So it certainly puts plenty of air in this tank. It's a whole entire bar across that whole back corner. The hotter you make your water, or the warmer you make your water, the less oxygen it can hold. So if you are going to heat treat for ick, which is what we're doing here, you definitely want to add an air stone to keep the water well oxygenated. Even with all these plants and everything in here, I still want an air stone in there to keep the water oxygenated. So right now we are at well, according to this, it says 81.1 degrees, so that is not right. It can't be right. No, that's definitely not right. I don't know why I'm getting an inaccurate reading on this thermometer, but we're up in the upper 80s right now. We're about 88 to 89 degrees, and I'm going for 90. Now, a minute ago, I did have my thermometer gun sitting on top of one of my light fixtures on one of the other tanks, and when I checked the temperature, it said it was 99 degrees. So I may have just fried my thermometer, because 81 degrees is about what we started at yesterday, and we are very close to pushing 90 degrees in this tank right now. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just treating with heat. I'm not going to add salt. The reason I'm not adding salt is because I have plecos in there, and plecos do not deal well with salt in the water. So if you've got plecos, or if you've got South American soft water fish, really do your research before you start putting salt in the water. The neons and the angelfish, as much as you might think about them as being South American sensitive fish, they've been bred and acclimated in captivity for so long right now that they're not really as sensitive to soft water as some of the fancier plecos, like those chocolate zebra plecos are. So there's no way I'm going to introduce salt into the tank, and my plants would not deal with the salt either. It's just not necessary. If that simply is ick, which I think it is now, and I'm a lot more relieved because I was really worried about what was going on in here. I shot a video recently about ick, ironically enough, and I said in the video that it's nothing more than a nuisance. If you get it, you just heat your tank for 10 days and you turn it back down and everything should be fine. So now is the perfect opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is and see if that actually works. So that's all we're doing to this tank. Complete total treatment is going to be nothing more than turning the temperature up to about 90 degrees, leaving it there for 10 days, and then bringing it back down, and of course doing water changes periodically during this process. But no meds, no salts, no nothing. All we're going to do is treat with heat, and everything should be fine. So I'm glad you were all here with me and you got to make the little discovery of the fact that it really definitely is ick. I know a lot of you were suggesting that it was, and I knew everybody was going to say that, because how else, it's little white spots on fish. If I guarantee if I looked that up, I'd never find anything other than ick. So that's where I started, and of course now we know that's what it is. So everything from here on out should be pretty smooth running. So stick around, stay tuned, subscribe if you're not already. Updates will be forthcoming. This is a 10-day process, so we will get lots and lots of updates on the progress of the fish in the meantime. So hopefully you will subscribe, and that way you won't miss any of them. So thanks for watching this one, and I will see you real soon on the next one. And thanks for all your support so far, and I thank you for your support in the future.